That's what I'm saying. Like, she felt like you could see her growing throughout the film. Like, especially obviously in Alien 1, you saw her. She was someone that was very like into the rules pretty much. Like, especially with the scene where she even locked out her team member because they were infected. And to see her now, like, she's literally going against certain rules where she's telling the one that was pretty much making all the rules, where she was like, you know, the scene where she was screaming at him to tell them to bring them back in. Yes, you can kind of see how she was developing, how she, especially in her environment, how she was developing in certain environments, and she was like growing into that leader. That's definitely something that I loved about her. And yeah, she was a badass, man.
And I think there's actually a really neat character arc here where she, like you said, at the start, she's all about the rules. She's very by the book. She believes in structure, right? She's the one who tries to enforce the quarantine rules. And also in the first movie, when people start being worried about their pay, she's the one who said, look, it's in your contract. You've got a right to this. It's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Like, she trusts in the system, right?
Yeah.
And here she doesn't trust anybody, right? She's already been screwed over by the company once, and the rules didn't help her. And now she's thrust into this new situation, and the people in charge who make the rules and are supposed to enforce them are completely useless, and they are making things worse because they don't know what they're doing, right? Like, the corporate guy clearly has an agenda. The commanding officer is on his second mission, right? At this point, it's only survival, and you only, like, there's only one goal for Ripley, right? And I think this whole, like, she's not really, like, she's not a soldier. She's probably the weakest person in the group, right? Just she's the only one who's not aside from the corporate guy, but she's the only one who's not a trained Marine, right? And she still just survives through sheer stubbornness and determination. I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie on that level is when she takes the elevator down to the Queen's lair, and she takes a deep breath, checks her guns again, and then panics a little bit, and then gets her shit together by the time the doors open. Mm-hmm. And that's our action hero, right? Like the big badass hero is going to save the day, and she's afraid. And she's going to do it anyway because it's like she's the only one who can do it, and there's nobody else who can help.
I feel like what they really do well in this movie, and especially in her character, it just kind of like subtly place those themes within there where they're not hitting you over the head with it, because you can see it like at the start of the movie, you know, she's having panic attacks about sort of what happened in the previous movie. She's kind of like, it's noted that like she's having like sort of nightmares and this, that, and the other, waking up in cold sweats or whatever. And of course, when they have like the first encounter, like you were saying that like she's like, or Jennifer was saying that, you know, she's shouting for people to like kind of like get back and this, that, and the other because of what she's seen before and this, that, and the other. And then you're then seeing, you know, as things are happening in the movie, she's kind of like overcoming that fear and essentially like facing that fear that she sort of had at the start of the movie. And then, like you said, you know, by the end of the movie, she's sort of, you know, brave enough, and she sort of, you know, she essentially is like going to like face the fear, you know, do what she can. And so there's a few themes in here like underneath her, because, you know, she's doing it for like the character Newt, but then at the start of the movie, you know, they mentioned about her daughter, which she sort of like grew up and sort of had a whole life and died while she was sort of frozen in time or whatever. And there was actually a very neat parallel, and I'm sure we'll like touch on a little bit more about the Alien Queen or whatever that they described her as. In terms of like, you know, her kind of like her maternal instincts sort of kind of started to kick in with Newt or whatever. And then you have that scene where she sees all like the eggs being laid. That particular scene where they kind of like have the showdown, and you kind of see that there's kind of this, not a hive mind, but like you see that the Queen has sort of a lot of control over the aliens, where she's kind of like protecting her eggs. You know, she can see that Ridley's got like the gun and flamethrower and whatever, and is about to kill her eggs. But then she's like, you know, ushering like all the other aliens to kind of step aside or whatever. So there was like a really neat...
She negotiates with the Queen, like the Queen and Ripley negotiate.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
One of the few problems I had though with this film was what you mentioned, Hervé, was the maternity traits. Firstly, like, where did this come from? Why is there such importance in, like, why are they putting so much not so much emphasis in it, but you can tell like that theme is being explored. But like, where did that theme come from? Like, there was nothing in the previous films that triggered that or told us that, okay, she's a mother.
I think so. My interpretation is that it's not just about motherhood, it's about motherhood and survival at the same time. She rises to the occasion of being a mother figure for Newt, not because it comes natural to her, because it doesn't, right? She's not good at it. She's not the warmest person. Like she said that she never met her child, right? like because she slept through her child's entire life. But it's not like being a mother is her is her calling, or is her personality, or is very important to her nature. But then she has to, because Newt needs somebody. Nice. So there's different levels here, right? Like one of them is why make that a theme of the movie. And then there's why does Ripley feel an obligation to Newt? And then how does that mirror with the Queen? I think those are three different topics. I think the reason why it's in the movie as opposed to anything else, I don't have a good answer to. It doesn't really follow organically from the first one. It's not really in Ripley's character before, but it really creates this it like kind of echoes with Ripley's survival character, right? Because in the first movie, she was responsible for her own survival. Like she wanted to help her crew and everything, but ultimately she wanted to survive. And here, somebody else needs her. Newt can't survive on her own, like not indefinitely. She can't save herself. So somebody has to, and that somebody has to be Ripley, because everybody else around her keeps dying. And then once you have that in place, like you thrust this kind of obligation and burden on somebody who has enough problems and who is not a great fit for that job, but nobody else can do it because there's literally everybody else who could do it is dead. And then once you have that in place, you add the Queen, which kind of makes logical sense that there would be somebody laying those eggs, right? But then you have this mirror between Ripley and the alien Queen, who are both kind of trying to keep their thing going, right? And they're willing to kill for it, and they get increasingly desperate over time. Like at the start, the alien Queen is very much in control, right? And then by the end, she's just like Ripley, is reduced to pure survival. So I think there's a really cool parallelism going on here.
Yeah.